I think he's in Aberdeen.
Okay, thank you. Well, welcome everybody to this first meeting of 2023 of the Angus Licensing Board. A happy new year to everybody that I haven't wished a happy new year. And with that said, we'll start the business. Item 1, apologies for absence. Do we have any apologies?
There's no apologies, convener.
Thank you. Moving on. Item 2, declarations of interest or statements of transparency. Do we have any? Councillor Durnell.
Yes, convener. I'm putting in a transparency statement. I'm not going to leave. I'm not going to leave the meeting despite there's not a financial interest in this. I just want to take part in the part for the railway in Freecombe.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to item 3, Angus Licensing Board membership. The membership is actually shown in the covering letter, and I would like to welcome back Councillor Fotheringham to the board, who was off for a little while but has decided now to come back on. Welcome back on, Councillor Fotheringham.
Thank you, convener.
Moving on to item 4, minutes of the previous meeting. There were 2 meetings, the 10th of November and the 12th of December. Members will have had a chance to look at these. Can we agree that they are a true record?
Agreed.
Agreed.
Agreed. Thank you. Takes us on to item 5, provisional premises licence applications under the Licensing Scotland Act 2005. Now, item 5A has been deferred, so we won't be hearing that today. And that takes us on to item 5B, Angus Alchemy, Woodhill Carnoustie. Can I just check, is the applicant or their agent here?
Yes, convener. It's Janet Hood that is the agent for this one, and Janet's in the meeting.
That's great. Thank you very much. With that said, Janet, would you like to present on this application?
Thank you. Thank you very much, convener. This is a very exciting opportunity in Angus. It's a new craft gin distillery, which is opening up on the A92 going down the coast, a distribution point for domestic and trade sales, ancillary to a micro shop and tasting room. The clients are using what was a rundown commercial premises. They've done them up to a high standard. At the moment, we're applying for a provisional grant because we're still waiting for final tweaks to be done to the building. Alcohol can be bought directly from they're bought by persons taking part in on-site virtual distillery visits or on-site visits or via online and telephone sales. Alcohol can be delivered from the site by the applicant or sent out via the post or normal delivery people. My clients are accept the suggestions of the Licensing Standards Officer with regard to deliveries being made for the same, and I responded to that email yesterday positively. There will be demonstrations in the distillery. Now, it's very, very small, so the word tour is, I think, really quite an exaggeration, but there's not another word I can use. But it's going to show how the product is made. There will be paid for tasting sessions. They will take place during the core hours of 11 o'clock for on sales until potentially 10 o'clock in the evening. But tasting sessions will stop at 9 o'clock to the extent that you can't start at 10 in the evening. So it's a fairly modest application. There will be free Tesco's. They sometimes have a lady or a gentleman standing at the end of an aisle saying, have you tasted this? That sort of thing will occur. And those tastings will take place as per we agreed with the board. I want to say thank you to the clerk for all the help and advice that she's given me moving forward with this application. And I move the grant.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Hood. A note, there is a report from the LSO. Would the LSO like to speak to that?
Hi there. I think the report was starting in post. I don't know if Jennifer Burns is able to comment on that.
Yes, thank you, Convener. Yes, the report was indeed submitted prior to our new licensing standards officer coming into post. I am not sure what in particular you would like me to refer to. The contents of the report are available there. I wonder, however, if I might take this opportunity just to clarify exactly what Ms. Hood is now confirming that she has agreed to. Unfortunately, I don't have a record of that just in front of me. And there has been quite a number of toings and froings with regard to the occasional licences, which of course were under a separate report, which is no longer coming before the board. And so it's just really for clarification with regard to that. But certainly I'm prepared, if needs be, to take questions with regard to the Licensing Standards Officer report. Would that be appropriate, Convener?
Yes, well, I suppose, sorry, there's Councillor Fotheringham. Would you like to come in?
Yeah, thank you, Convener. I don't see any issue with this application at all. As I've said before, this is an industry that's been decimated over the last 2.5 years. Nothing wrong with this. What we give out, we can take away. And I just move to grant. Thank you.
Sorry, I meant to say earlier, before we started business, that for motions, could we possibly wait to the end of all the business before we actually forward any motions or amendments? Probably what I'll do is I'll call for them, if that's okay with board members. Sometimes what we find, well, certainly in previous meetings, is that we've had a motion very early on in the business. Whereas what we want is we want everybody to be heard and everybody to get, a fair say before we actually bring emotions. But thank you very much for that, Councillor Fotheringham. Can I maybe ask, one of the issues with the LSO was that I think it was on sales from 10 o'clock in the morning was being requested, which is out with the model board policy. Is that still what's being requested? Can I ask Mrs. Hood?
No, it is not being requested. I did write in specifically saying that should this application be granted, I will submit an amended operating plan stating that on sales, that's paid for tastings, because those are the only on sales that will happen, will not the policy set down by Angus Licensing Board. And I have my clients are perfectly happy with that. And that email was sent in a while ago. And we're also happy to accept the conditions with regard to delivery, which were sent out yesterday. My clients are happy to make sure that Challenge 25 is actually taking place. The staff will be trained, the drivers will be trained. When obviously, if it goes into the post, they can't train every postman in Britain, and I'm sure the board understands that. But that's just the packages will be appropriately labelled as alcohol with the warning sign: "Do not hand over to under 18s." But that cannot be within the control of my clients the way any other postal delivery is.
Okay, thank you very much for that clarification, Mrs. Hood. Does anyone else have any questions before I call for motions? No? Okay, I think I'll come back to Councillor Fotheringham then, who had a motion earlier. Would you give that motion again?
Yes, thank you, Convener. I just move what Mrs. Hood has said, and I just move to grant this application. Thank you.
Councillor Braze, I see your hand up.
I'd be happy to second Councillor Fotheringham. I think this is an excellent idea, and very entrepreneurial, and a great thing for Angus. And I don't see anything wrong with this at all. The one wee sort of thing was, yeah, they're going to possibly be getting to sample gin as early as 10 o'clock in the morning before making a purchase, but as Mrs. Hood pointed out, that's a regular occurrence in supermarkets and retail outlets across the country. So I've no problem at all, and I wish them every success.
Okay, thank you very much, Councillor Brace. Can I call for any amendments? No amendments? I think that's us then. Thank you very much, Mrs. Hood.
Convener, thank you very much. Members, thank you very much. Happy New Year in case I missed you the first time round. And I look forward, hopefully, to seeing you in person one day soon. Thanks. Bye.
Okay, thank you.
Aye.
So the licence is granted. Okay, can we move on? We're on to, well, it would be item 6, the occasional licences for, again, Angus Alchemy, but that has been withdrawn. I believe that was granted under delegated, so we no longer have to hear that. Is that correct, Fiona?
Yes, convener. Mrs. Hood had consultations with the licensing team, so the occasional licences that were in the report have now been granted under delegated powers.
Okay, thank you very much. We'll move on then to item 7, premises licences, request to vary under Licensing Act 2005. It's at page 29. Just
Yes.
catching up. Yes, Fiona?
Convener, Mr. Robbie is just away to join the meeting. He's the applicant for this one. If you could just give him a moment.
Yeah, no problem. I'm just getting the papers myself.
Sorry, convener, he's coming in by telephone, but I don't see him yet.
Maybe having IT issues like some of us.
Mm-hmm. Would the board want to maybe deal with the Wellbank Hall one to allow Mr. Robbie time to come in and go back to that one? Would we be happy? Yes,
that'd be fine. If you
Yeah.
just remind me, Fiona, that I don't run away to.
No, I'll
the
remember
next
it, and
one
that'll give Mr. Robbie time to come in. The Wellbank Hall one, which is on page 37, Ms. Karen Gerard is here to speak on behalf of this one. There's not been any objections to it, and there's no comments received.
Okay, thank you very much. Ms. Gerard, would you like to speak to the application?
I didn't realise I would be having to address you. I'm chair of the Wellbank Hall. We've recently taken over as chair, and we were going through all of the paperwork, and obviously we realised that there was a few issues with the premise licence that was what we currently hold. We're a Wellbank Hall, we're a community hall, and we run quite a lot of things outside of premise licence times, and according to our current premise licence we shouldn't be, so we thought we'd better get that sorted, because it's the bar is a sideline, I suppose you could say, to the Wellbank Hall rather than our main source of income. So we were we just thought we'd better make sure that we were correct and we were running correctly. So we've put in our variation request for yourselves to deal with.
Thank you very much. We can open up to members. Do members have any questions on this application? Councillor Whiteside.
It's not strictly a question, convener. I just want to thank Karen and all the people involved with the hall. It's really good to see such an active group running a community facility. So well done to you all. Thanks.
Thank you.
Councillor Fotheringham.
Yeah, just like my ward colleague, Councillor Whiteside, I think this is an excellent facility. I've been in the hall quite a few times. I think a couple of Burns suppers many years ago, and yeah, absolutely support this application. Thank you, convener.
Thank you. Anyone else? Can I then call for motions? Councillor Fotheringham.
Yeah, there's no issue with this. No comments received in the bottom of the report, convener, and I just move that we grant this application. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Whiteside.
Yeah, I would second that.
Okay. Any amendments? Well, I think that's us. Mrs. Gerard, the variation has been approved.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Fiona, will we move on to C or?
Yeah, he's not in. So just if we could maybe just move on to the next one, which is
Okay.
page 38, and it's the Spar at 42 Lindsay Street, Kirriemuir. Again, there's no objections to this one and no comments received. And the agent is in the call, and it's Mrs. Caroline Loudon.
Good morning, Your
Thank you.
Honours.
Good morning, Mrs. Loudon. Would you like to talk to the application?
Yes, very, very happy to do so. This application is actually part of an estate-wide review that was done by CJ Lang last year as a result of really learnings from pandemic. And as a result of that, they needed to add additional activities to all of their Scottish estate to make sure that everybody was essentially had the same premises licence as much as we could do, obviously in accordance with board policies across Scotland. So this particular store is a convenience store in a really residential area in Kirriemuir. I'm really aware that Your Honours will probably have visited it many times more than I have, so I'll stop at that. But in terms of the application itself, we have really done a tidy up of what was quite an old licence. So we have made sure that it's got the correct wording in terms of activities. So obviously the primary activity is general retail of groceries, confectionery, etc. But we've added in things like it's a charity collection point, charitable events can take place in case there's launches or collections, that kind of thing. Food to go is a big thing. So you have CJs there with, you can buy sausage rolls, pies, sandwiches, their cakes, which are enormous, and I have to refrain every time I go in one. The click and collect is a good one as well. Home deliveries, pay point, national lottery, external automated cash machine for some sampling and promotional activities. Just remembering this is a permission to have. Some of them across Scotland have had post offices. This one doesn't, but I think it's important just in relation to national lottery. That is a form of gambling. So I've ticked gaming on the operating plan as well. But then it's caveated to say only in connection with national lottery, and you can't have other sorts of gaming in an off-sales licence. So there is a small increase here, 12.49 metres to 18.21 metres squared as well, and essentially there's been a refit of the units that come in, and rather than having more stock on the shelves, it's presented nicer, get my English right, it's presented better lighting, all that sort of thing, and a better experience for the customer, which is really what it is all about. So no comments, objections or anything else received for this one, so I'd simply move the grant and hope that was enough of an explanation. Happy to add anything more that Your Honours might like this morning. I'll go on mute just now.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Loudon. Do members have any questions? Councillor Fotheringham.
Actually, sorry, convener, it's actually not a question, it's a comment, so maybe other members have questions.
Does anyone else have questions? I've got one question, that it's listed deliveries will happen, but there's no mention of Angus Council model delivery conditions.
There's not. So apologies, convener.
You'll probably be aware that Angus Council have model delivery conditions. Are you happy to accept these conditions?
I can accept those. We have our own delivery policy, which I'm very happy to send up to Mrs. Anderson as well. But I'm sure that the two are entirely kind of the same, essentially. So that is to do with refusal logs and challenge 25, recording, all these things, which of course are dealt with under the 2005 Act as well, but happy to do that. Just for information, the client uses an online app called Snappy Shopper. So it's actually all automated as help. So I have in my mind a delivery book with lots of writing and scribbling and copy stains and all the rest of it. So we're not in that league at all. We've got proper app-based recording that goes on, and all of our drivers are CJ Lang drivers trained by us and can go out now. Because it's automated, it comes through and the jobs are actually accepted by the drivers. So you can only accept a job once you've been appropriately trained. And some drivers, for religious reasons and other things, don't want to carry alcohol. So they could just flip to the other side and say, no, I'm not taking that job. It contains groceries and alcohol. And that's where we get to. So it's Snappy Shopper.
Okay, thank you very much. Back to Councillor Fotheringham.
Yes, thank you, convener. It's just a comment. I know this premise very well. In my early days in Royal Mail, there was a post office in that premises, right at the back of the shop, and I used to take the mail out every day. Very well run. I've heard no issues with it at all, convener, and you know, good luck to them. I think this is an excellent application. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other member?
Sorry, Chair, I'm jumping the gun here. I was thinking that Councillor Fotheringham was moving in. I would have seconded. I'll wait my turn. Sorry, convener.
Are there any other questions or comments from members? Okay, I'll ask for motions.
Sorry, I think convener, I think
sorry.
Mrs. Burns wants to speak.
Yes, thank you, convener. It was just to say that the model conditions are not contained within the statement of policy. However, they are actually contained within the agenda because they're part of one of the minutes. If Ms. Loudon wanted to refer to them, they're available at page 5.
I think I might have got that one wrong. I had page 19 to 24. I don't know.
Your Honour, I'm sorry, it's difficult to navigate just around. I'm using two screens. Could anybody put them up on screen? Would that be possible?
They're part of the last minute, Ms. Loudon. Would it be helpful if I just read them out? Would that be helpful?
Yes, it would be lovely. Thank you.
So item 1 is alcohol sold or dispatched from the premises will be delivered only to residential or business addresses. Would that be acceptable?
Accepted.
2 is the licence holder shall exercise due diligence to check the age of customers or potential customers, be satisfied that they are aged 18 or over before any sale is completed, and otherwise shall comply with the age-related sale provisions in the Licensing Scotland Act 2005. That's condition 2. Will be accepted.
Accepted.
3 is sales of alcohol may only take place within licensed hours. Any person submitting any order out with the licensed hours is to be advised that the order will be processed after the commencement of the next period of licensed hours.
Yes, we've had recent cause to examine that, so that's conditions accepted. We can do that.
Would be out with item condition 4, the licence holder shall ensure that those persons who deliver the alcohol are aware of the provisions of and restrictions on the delivery of alcohol contained in the Licensing Scotland Act 2005.
That's agreed to.
Yep. And final condition is a notice or electronic notice, if it is a third party operator, shall be affixed to every package containing alcohol dispatched from the premises, stating that the package shall contain alcohol and it is an offence to deliver it to any person under the age of 18.
So we have that in terms of what comes from the Snappy Shopper. So it's the electronic part of that note. Yeah. There was another board that asks you to put a paper note on, but of course that doesn't work because they can come off and all the rest of it. So I usually take the paper bit off, but electronic is absolutely fine.
Yeah. So convener, I think the 5 conditions appear to be acceptable to the client's agent.
Okay. Thank you very much for that. I would just like to say that I can't see Mrs. Hood on my screen, so I apologise that I didn't see her. But thank you very much for helping us out with that. With that, I'll call for motions. Councillor Fotheringham.
I think Councillor Clark's maybe before me, convener.
Oh, sorry. Councillor Clark.
No, it's fine.
Okay, thanks very much, folks. I move that this licence be granted. I'm perfectly happy with everything. I've listened attentively and it's a good thing.
Councillor Fotheringham?
Yes, I would just like to second Councillor Clark. Thank you, convener.
Thank you very much. Any amendments? No, okay. Then the variation is granted.
Convener, that's with the additional conditions. Yeah.
Of course,
Okay.
yes.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you to Mrs. Anderson for her help with that too. Appreciated this morning.
Yeah.
We move on. Sorry,
Convener, Mr. Robbie is having difficulty getting to the meeting today. I don't know, it's quite a straightforward application and I don't know if the board just want to deal with it in his absence. It's I have spoken to the gentleman and the gaming is prize bingo. It's on page 36.
36. That's the Bruce.
Yes, so it's license number 203, Lodge the Bruce, Masonic, 52 Guthrie Street, Freecombe. It's for it's a non-sales license they have, and I'd spoken to the applicant previously, and it was just again they were updating their operating plan, and it was recorded music, live performances, and gaming, and the gaming is prize bingo on occasions.
Okay, thank you.
There's no comments received.
Are members happy to decide on this one? Councillor Whiteside.
Yeah, it's really straightforward. I would move that we just grant this. Thanks.
And Councillor Nicholl?
I would second that.
Any amendments? Okay, thank you very much. I think from that is granted then. And we'll move then to, sorry Fiona, you?
No, that's okay. That's okay.
We'll move to item D, which is the Railway Inn at page 39.
I think this is Mr. Robbie now coming in, but hold on.
Oh.
I'll just let him know.
Okay.
Fiona, it is Mr. Robbie. He'd actually tried to get in a number of times, but he's obviously succeeded.
Yeah.
Lawrence Robbie. Yeah, good morning.
Is now joining.
Hello, Mr. Robbie.
Yeah, good morning. Sorry about
that. That's okay. What we decided to do is we thought that you weren't going to get in because you'd right. your phone. So we went ahead and just heard the application, and the decision
right.
is that it is granted.
Oh, that's lovely. Thank you very much.
So sorry we missed you. I would have liked to talk to you, but we thought you weren't going to get in, so we just moved ahead. Is that okay?
Aye. Yeah, that's okay. Fine. It's this technicality stuff. I'm not used to that.
It was granted.
I was looking for a PIN number, but yeah.
Okay.
Okay, Mr.
Thank
Robbie.
You very much.
Thank
you. You can now leave the meeting again.
Right. Do I get sent out
no, if you just hang up your call.
I think he was asking if he gets confirmation of the decision.
Yes, that's correct. Yes, licensing team will send it out.
That's lovely. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Thanks for your help. Bye.
Okay, we'll move on to item D, the Railway Inn in Freecombe. Is there anyone to?
Yes, convener. This is the Railway Inn, 1 Cardine Street, Freecombe, on page 39.
Robbie.
Oh. Is now exiting.
On page 39 of your papers. This one, Mr. Andrew Nicholas is present to speak on it. There is a standard officer comment, but I would like to draw the board members' attention that on checking the licence, the model conditions is part of this licence. The building standard officer has confirmed that there's no changes to the occupancy numbers as stated, and they have no comments to make.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Nicholas, would you like to talk to the application?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear.
We were looking to change our license to allow under 18s onto the premises, as we have started to do a food offering. We have changed the layout of the bar slightly to 18s would not be allowed, which is within 1 metre of the serving area. We also have a pool table that we'd like under 18s to be able to use. And this really comes about as families have grown. You know, the people that were teenagers themselves 10 years ago, they now have young families coming in, and they'd just like to bring their kids along. And because we kind of know everybody that's coming into the pub, being a village pub, we'd just like to allow that, and we'd like to allow that legally with everything in place as it should be.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Nicholas. Could I then open up to members? Do members have any questions on this application? No? Okay, I'll call for motions. I'll start this one then, if that's okay. I move that we agree this variation. Councillor, I don't know who was first, Councillor Fotheringham or Braze. We'll go to Councillor Braze, if that's okay.
Yeah,
Yes,
absolutely.
I'll second you, convener.
Any amendments? Okay, the variation then is granted.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Nicholas.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, we can move now to item 8, which is page 41 onwards. Is there anyone to talk to this, Fiona?
Yes, I think Mrs. Burns is going to introduce this report, convener.
Okay, thank you. Mrs. Burns?
Yes, thank you, convener. This report is to advise the board that it's required, that's the board's required to publish a new alcohol licensing statement of policy by the 6th of November 2023. The policy must be written with a view to promoting licensing objectives, and it must include an over-provision statement. So by bringing this report to the board now, it's hoped that steps can be put in place to allow preparation of the new policy and the process to achieve this, considering that information gathering may be required, as well as formal consultation in terms of the statutory provisions. It's proposed that initial ideas for areas of the policy for consideration are sought from members and will also be sought from the forum and wider public. It's proposed that this is via Have Your Say. It's incumbent on the board to consult with the local licensing forum as part of the policy preparation process, and if the forum is not representative of all stipulated parties and groups, persons who represent those interests must also be consulted. It's suggested, therefore, that preparation of the new policy is an item for initial discussion at the forum when it next meets, which I understand is likely to be next month. It's also suggested that although the forum represents the interests of many of the prescribed consultees, that this may not include all of those stipulated and required, and that in any event, at least of those listed at paragraph 224 of the report should formally be consulted upon once the draft report has been prepared after initial consultation and once a draft has actually been prepared. Now, the policy must also include an over-provision statement. The current over-provision statement is based on 7 localities. That's Arbroath, the borough of Arbroath, Brechin, Carnoustie, Forfar, Kirriemuir, Montrose and Monifieth. And members should consider whether they already have sufficient information about the provision of licensed premises within the board's area to determine these localities, which could be the whole of the board's area, or whether further information is required to enable the localities to be changed in some way. members should also consider whether to request information at this stage to inform future discussions about assessing the over-provision itself and other matters for consideration. Now, I understand there are only likely to be 5 boards before November, and as it takes time for information to be gathered and so on provided from the relevant consultees, then it's hoped that some steps can be decided upon at this stage. At the request of the licensing board, the chief constable, the relevant health board and also the council must provide such statistical or other information as may reasonably be required for the purpose of preparing the statement of policy. And it suggested that some information might actually be requested to allow matters to progress.
Okay, thank you for that. Can I open up? Do members have any questions on this report? Or comments? Okay, we can move then to the recommendations. The first recommendation is that we note the requirements of the board.
Sorry.
Sorry. Fiona? You're on mute.
Sorry, I think a few members put their hands up. I think.
Sorry. Oh, I can see now. Don't know if there's a delay on my screen, but I can now see Councillor Whiteside.
Thanks, convener. I was just going to say I welcome this because I think there's been quite a few issues regarding licensing hours, and it will be good to get a new policy in place that the board can stick to going forward. And I was just going to ask Mrs. Burns what the next step is and what will be required of us.
Mrs. Burns?
Thank you. Yes, I think we're required to decide initially what process we wish to undertake. So whether the process that's suggested there, having an initial discussion with the forum, and whether inviting members of the public and so on by Have Your Say to come up with ideas. So this is really for areas as you've described there, perhaps ours. So whether there are any other areas for consideration. The intention would be presumably that the policy itself would not be wholly rewritten, but that it would, if you like, be a review. So there would be particular areas that members would wish to, and that perhaps members of the public and other stakeholders might wish to be considered. So the next step is really to take steps to identify what those areas are, and also to gather information which would inform that moving forward, and also information which would allow you in future to consider the over provision policy.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll move to Councillor Braze.
Yes, mine's a comment more than anything. Is that okay?
Yes, that's fine.
Yes, I think it would be really good if we could, when it comes to consultation, if we could be as proactive as possible in encouraging community councils to take part in this. They are, after all, a very important part of our local government and democracy.
Thank you very much, Councillor Braze. A very good suggestion. Councillor Fotheringham.
Thank you, convener. Yeah, just to back up what Councillor Braze has said, I totally agree with what he said. Can I ask, if my memory serves me correct, that we have to rewrite this policy every 5 years within 18 months of an election? Is that correct, Mrs. Burns? Thank you.
Yes, that's correct. It's within 18 months, which is where the November figure comes from.
Thank you, convener.
Are there any other comments or questions from members? Can I just check, Mrs. Burns, are you looking for individual members, if they have any or would like to see any amendments, to give them directly to yourself or to Fiona or for discussion?
Yes, or perhaps these could be brought back. It's the process, if you like, I suppose, that we're actually deciding at this time.
Okay.
So yes, so that could be, if members wished, that could be direct to the clerk. That would be to myself as assistant clerk, or perhaps suggest a date when these comments, etc., could be provided, and when we will consult with the public, if that is how you wish to proceed. Do you wish to proceed, for example, by have your say, indicating that we are commencing this and that inviting comments from the public, and then we would arrange to report back to the board at a future time?
I think the answer to that, but certainly from myself, is yes, to all of which you've said. So yes, I think that would be the way forward and a very good start. Coming back to the report, can we now look at the recommendations? Recommendation 1, that we note the requirement of the board to review its statement of licensing policy. Do we note that?
Noted.
Noted.
Number 2, to approve the proposed process for carrying out the review. We approve.
Approved.
And 3, identify any particular aspects of the board's current statement. That's the bit we've discussed. Anything we would particularly like to look at. So are we happy with that?
Happy.
Okay. Okay, I think that's us for the moment on item 8. If we move to item 9, which is at page 44. And these are personal licenses delegated decisions. So people have had a chance to look at this, and all we're asked to do is to note the licenses granted under delegated. Are we happy to note these licenses?
Noted.
We move to item 10, which is page 46. And these are, again, delegated approvals for occasional licenses. And we're again asked to note the occasional license granted. Are we happy to note these licenses?
Noted.
Okay, we'll move then to item 11, which is page 55. And these are premises license, minor variations, again, delegated approvals. So again, we are asked to note the applications for minor variations to premises license. Are we happy to note?
Agreed.
Noted.
We move to item 12, which is page 58. Does anyone want to talk to this one, or Fiona? No?
Is that number 12, the surrendered
It's number
ones?
12, yes.
Yeah, I think it's just, again, it's just for noting the convener. The licenses have been surrendered.
I'll just catch up with this. Yeah, I think there are 2. There's license number 162, which is the railway, and there's license 409, the Smuggler's Tavern. The board agreed that the license 162 has been surrendered and ceased to have effect. Agreed. And for the 409, are we again agreed that the license has been surrendered and ceased to have effect?
Agreed.
Okay. We now move to item 13, which is page 61.
Yes, convener, this one is the transfer of the premises license. If you could just give the applicant just a minute, he's just trying to join just now. My colleagues advised are just coming in. I believe it's Mr. Mann that's coming in. He is the applicant, and Mr. Rummy is also, I think, joining them. Now, he is the person that they have asked to nominate as the premises manager.
Okay.
Just Jenny, do you wish to say something at this stage?
Yes, I wondered if I could just give a brief introduction once the parties are attending.
Yes. We seem to be having issues this morning getting people into the meetings.
Yeah.
Oh, here they come. Right, convener, that's me just admitting them just now. Just check who is in the call. Hello, Mr. Mann.
Hello,
Yes,
hi. It's Mr. Mann here. It's actually his son. I'm going to be answering the questions on behalf of him. I also have him here next to me, just as a tech. He's not the most tech savvy, so it's probably easier if I just sort of manage it from this side.
That's fine. Could you also confirm if Mr. Rummy is in the call?
We've just given him a call, and he should be joining shortly. Should be a couple of minutes or so.
Okay. Convener, maybe Mrs. Burns could give an introduction to this in the meantime then.
Yeah, that would be fine.
Yeah,
Thank you.
okay.
Thank you. Yes, so this is a transfer application. Now, transfer applications can either come from the existing license holder, premises license holder, or for the would-be license holder. Now, in this case, it is the existing license holder who has submitted the application. However, the information from Police Scotland relates to the proposed license holder. Now, the existing licence holder is Indian Cottage Montrose Limited, and I understand that Mr. Mann represents the company. Can I ask if that's correct?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, and I understand that Mr. Rummy is the proposed licence holder about whom the information before the board relates to, which is perfectly correct in terms of the statutory provisions.
Yes, that's correct.
Thank you.
Convener, that's Mr. Rummy now in the meeting as well. Can I confirm, Mr. Rummy, you're in the meeting? And you can hear us? Mr. Rummy, are you? Yes, there, that's fine. Okay.
Okay, thank you very much and welcome Mr. Mann and Mr. Rummy. Could have asked maybe Mr. Mann to talk to his application.
So I can provide some information. I don't have full clarity on the entire proceedings. I'm just filling in, so apologies if I do miss anything out. But just as pertains to what the lady said in regards to we're wishing to transfer over the license to Mr. Rummy, as Indian Cottage is no longer going to be trading, and they will be taking over the premises in terms of that.
Okay, thank you. Mr.
Well, convener, would you like to maybe hear from Police Scotland regarding their letter?
Yes, please. Who have we got from Police Scotland talking to this one?
That'll be myself, Constable Thompson Craig.
Okay, Councillor Thompson Craig, would you like to go ahead?
Yeah, no problem. Thank you. So on the 8th of December 2022, Police Scotland submitted a letter of representation in relation to the application to transfer the premises licence of Indian Cottage 204 to 206 High Street, Montrose, from Indian Cottage Montrose Limited to the transferee, Mr. Rumi. A check of police systems revealed that Mr. Rumi had been convicted of a relevant offence in terms of the Licence and Relevant Offences Scotland Regulations 2004. On the 16th of June 2018 at Dundee Sheriff Court, Mr. Rumi was convicted of drunk driving and was subsequently fined £200 and disqualified for a period of 14 months. He was also ordered to attend a rehabilitation course. The conviction was not declared on the application form. The rehabilitation period for an endorsement made by the court in relation to an offence mentioned in Schedule 2 of the Road Traffic Offenders Act 1988 is 5 years if the offender was over 18 years at the time of the offence. The circumstances that led to the conviction are as follows. About 02:50 hours on Saturday the 12th of May 2018, members of the public contacted police reporting concerns that a vehicle being manoeuvred within a car park on Dundonald Street, Dundee, was being driven by a driver who was under the influence of alcohol. The driver had been seen to exit the vehicle briefly and stagger around the car park before returning to the vehicle. Police officers attended and traced the offending vehicle within the car park. The vehicle lights were illuminated and they observed the vehicle being reversed from a parking space and then driven back into the space. The police officers used their marked police van to block the exit from the car park to prevent the vehicle being driven away. The driver exited the vehicle and attempted to stagger away quickly, but was quickly secured by the police officers. The driver was identified as being Mr. Rumi and was required to provide a roadside breath test for analysis. He failed to comply and was arrested and conveyed to Divisional Police Headquarters, where all due process was completed. Mr. Rumi was further required to provide 2 specimens of breath by means of an approved device, and the lower reading provided was 74 micrograms of alcohol within 100 millilitres of breath, thus exceeding the prescribed limit of 22 micrograms of alcohol in 100 millilitres of breath. Mr. Rumi was cautioned and charged and released on an undertaking to appear at court at a later date. And on the 12th of June 2018, Mr. Rumi appeared at Dundee Sheriff Court, at which time he pled guilty and was sentenced accordingly. In light of this, the Chief Constable makes no specific recommendations with regards to the application, but would invite the Licensing Board to consider all options available to them. Thank you.
Thank you, PC. Mr. Rumi, would you like to talk to the board about this application?
Yeah. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. If you go ahead.
Yeah, what would you like me to hear, please? So I can...
Well, there's an application here for a transfer of a licence. This is your opportunity to talk to the board about why it should be granted.
Right, I suppose I'm taking about this place like as a premises manager, and that I think I heard the police. I didn't know I should have mentioned that thing. I didn't know how to do things like that. On behalf of me, one of the council member filled up the form. I was like she was helping me. I think what is his name, David, or the Mrs. David. I should have mentioned, obviously, it's my mistake. I didn't know I should have mentioned that. But obviously I spoke to her. I think I explained as well that this is what happened. I think I can, that's all I can say. I'm really sorry for that.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Rumi. Can I open up to the board? Do the board have any questions of Mr. Rumi or Mr. Mann? Councillor Fotheringham.
Thank you, convener. Yes, I'd just like to know, I've heard this year after year after year, and I've sat on this board for 11 years. And I'd really like to know why Mr. Rumi did not declare his conviction on the application form, because the application form, in my view, is quite clear.
Mr. Rumi, would you like to come back and answer that question?
Yes, sir. Yeah, but when I fill up the form, I clearly didn't notice that. I'm really, really sorry for that, because it is, I don't know what section of the part is saying that. And I kind of copied a form, as the internet was saying something like that. It was a previous form, or it's like Indian court. So I kind of copied from there. I really didn't know how to like answer all the questions and things like that. Obviously, I'm living here for like 6 years, and my English is that not good level on that level, like, and the criminal offense, like something like that. Yeah, I didn't realize. I'm really sorry for that. But when I did my application on my passport and things like that, I got a solicitor, so he did for me, and I got granted for that. But I didn't know this. I never got anyone to help me out this one. I had to do it by myself.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Rumi. Councillor Clark.
Morning, Mr. Rumi. It's
Yeah.
almost 5 years post gone since this happened, and you would
Yeah.
have been obliged, and you did complete a programme after it. Now, we're being asked here to consider this request by you. Can I maybe just ask you, please? I suppose I need to know how you feel now after that rehabilitation programme.
Right. Yeah, I feel absolutely secure now, and I know, and I don't do that anymore. Obviously, it's been like more 5 years almost. It's getting there, and yeah, I know all the road acts and everything, and I never touch anything like that anymore. So I'm feel safe. I'm always safe now, and I don't do parties and things like that.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Rumi.
Okay, thank you very much.
Any other questions from members or comments? Councillor Brays.
Yes, this is really quite a serious issue here. The fact that you didn't declare this on the application, this offence, when you're required to do so. And of course, you do have a conviction for drink driving, and you're applying, or there's an application for a transfer to you of a license for selling alcohol to people. The two things are related. It is quite serious. I'm wondering if this transfer wasn't approved today, would it have a dramatic effect on the operation of your business and the people who work there?
Eventually, it will little bit, I think, or they will get a new manager to do something. They will get a new person to do it, or yeah, I suppose that, because I started the job over there quite a few months ago. So they're hoping I would get it. So if I don't get it, maybe they will sort something out, or get a new manager, or I lose my job, something like that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, sir.
Are there any other questions from members or comments? Can I maybe then
convener, maybe I think maybe Mrs. Burns, but maybe give the applicant, Mr. Mann, the chance to maybe sum up. Jenny, sorry, if that may be what you were away to say.
No, I wonder if I might just clarify, as indicated at the beginning, this is an application by the existing licence holder. So it's the existing licence holder who submitted the form itself. It was just to reiterate that.
Okay, we come back then to Mr. Mann. Are you still there, Mr. Mann?
Yes, he is.
Would you like to say anything to the board on your application?
I don't believe so at this point. No.
Okay. Okay, Fiona?
Yes, Mr. Mann has been given the opportunity to sum up because it is his up, and you know he's chosen not to sum up.
Oh, sorry. I didn't know it was to sum up. I do just have apologies, I misunderstood. If it's possible to go. So yeah, obviously, as pertaining to the application, we are no longer trading Indian Cottage Limited Montrose. Yeah, just in reference to that as well, I think worth noting.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mann. I think now we can move to. Oh, sorry, I've got hands up. Councillor Whiteside.
Yeah, I think you were about to say we can move to motions.
I was, yes.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I mean, it clearly is a serious issue. However, as Councillor Clark pointed out, it's almost 5 years ago. I don't think it's enough to refuse to transfer the licence. And obviously, if there were any future convictions, we'd be informed about that. So I would move that we grant the transfer.
Thank you. Councillor Braze.
Yes, I'll second that. The premises were previously occupied by Indian Cottage, and they no longer exist. That if the premises are to continue, the license has to be transferred to somewhere, really. But yeah, I do take this quite seriously. But I would certainly think that the transfer should be agreed. So I'll second that.
Thank you. Councillor Fotheringham, do you want to say something?
Yes, thank you, convener. No, I can just agree with my colleagues, Councillor Whiteside and Councillor Braze. This is a very serious issue, but I would move to grant this application. It's 5 years ago, so, and if it comes back to us, we can deal with it at a later date. Thank you, convener.
Thank you. Any amendments? Okay, with that, then the transfer is granted.
Agreed.
Right. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mann and Mr. Rumi.
Thank you. Thank you very, very much.
Much
Thank you.
Goodbye.
You can now leave the meeting as well.
Okay.
Goodbye.
Right. Okay. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Should I leave as well, or?
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Thanks, everybody. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Have a good day.
We now will move to item 14. I would say before we start the next ones, members, I would suggest at this stage of the meeting that we stop the live stream, but continue to record the remainder of the board business, which will be made available for viewing should this be requested. The reason for this is to avoid the possible disclosure of sensitive information. Is this agreed?
Agreed.
Agreed.
Okay.